Welcome to the Business Information Buffet Podcast, also known as the BIB Podcast, where everybody eats. The BIB Podcast is brought to you by the College of Southern Nevada's Small Business Entrepreneurship Development, powered by CSN Blackstone Launchpad. Are you ready to eat? Because this is where everybody eats. Welcome back, everyone, to the Business Information Buffet Podcast, also known as the BIB Podcast, where everybody eats. Powered by Blackstone Launchpad here at the College of Southern Nevada. I'm your host, Sean Tory, with our other host, our Blackstone Launchpad student, my good sir, Chordonn Allen. How are you, good sir?
I'm good. How you doing?
Man, you know, it's always a beautiful day when we get to wake up, we get to do our thing, man.
Right? Such a blessing.
It's a blessing, man. And as you know, Blackstone, a great company that does a lot with it across the U.S., used to own the Cosmopolitan. They actually built the Cosmopolitan, but has a great initiative across universities and colleges across the U.S., housed here at the College of Southern Nevada to help student entrepreneurs learn the ins and outs of how to operate businesses, right? And I know you're one of the students who participates.
Right.
And we talk about this every episode, and really that's the new driving force for the BIB Podcast.
Right.
So how has that been for you, being a business owner yourself and being a part of Blackstone?
Just continuing to grow, man. Every day is something new, meeting new people, learning new things about the business. Every time I come, I'm eager to learn more. Looking forward to the next one.
We go. And today's episode, I have a great feeling about this episode. Today's episode is called MyloFleur. I had to be I was going to be extra, but I liked, it's a French word. Fleur. For a special guest that has been impacting lives through her events and different, not just, I would say events, different specials, experiences. Actually, that's what I was looking for. Experiences. This phenomenal person, this phenomenal woman, and if I can ask, because we have to make sure, is that how you identify, ma'am?
Yes.
Cool.
Of course.
Respectfully.
Gotta respect.
Yes.
Gotta respect how folks are. This beautiful ma'am here. And by the way, I did promise this. Outfit is phenomenal, so shout out to her brother who styled her up.
Shout out to the stylist.
Shout out to the stylist. Outfit is
Lopez.
phenomenal. Yes. Our beautiful guest today, born in Corona, California, Mexican-American, based in Las Vegas, and frequently moved around Mexico and the U.S. in her childhood and in adolescence, eventually moved to Las Vegas, where Lopez, our guest, would help her mom clean up after floral designers at MGM Mirage in Las Vegas. Paid architect school. Through hard work and dedication, she began networking with industry leaders and built her own business from the ground up. Along the way, she discovered her love for floral design and architecture. Picked up valuable business skills that would prove to be useful in the future, and spent time being missionary abroad in Eastern Europe and Asia. Oh, she's international.
Wow.
She got that passport and them stamps.
We got a foreign exchange guest today.
A foreign exchange. International. She said, what Drake say? What are those international lines? Allowing her to learn more about the people living there and challenges that they face. So everyone, please give a round of applause to our special guest, Myriam Lopez. How are you, ma'am?
Yes.
What's up? How are you, ma'am?
I am doing so well. I'm excited to be here and be able to chat with you guys. And
Come on.
this is a new avenue, like a podcast. It's my first podcast.
It's your first podcast?
Yeah.
We got her!
Yeah.
It's the first one!
The first time.
Yeah.
It's the first time
You guys are gonna teach me how to do this because I've been a fan of podcasts before, and
Right.
that's actually what I use for when I'm deep thinking. I need someone to sometimes walk me through their stories and stuff, and it hits me. But now that I'm on the other side, it's like, whoa, interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
Now
Now
people
I'm
gonna
here.
be listening to you.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I'll try to put my thoughts together, guys. So I apologize in advance.
No, you're good. For
It's all
one,
good.
let's say this: you deserve to be here, and
Oh.
we thank you for being here because we know you're a busy woman. Okay, when Adanya recommended you, I was like, okay, let me look her up. I'm looking on your website. I'm looking up IG, look, LinkedIn, all. I'm like, oh, she's out here, and I'm like, okay, loving what you're doing, by the way. But let's go into the first segment, which is the blueprint, right? And the blueprint in this segment, this is how we discuss with our guests how you got your start for your blueprint, how you designed it, how you orchestrated and how you designed it, right? And this gives us more of an insight how it developed, right? Where you got your start, what motivated you, gave you all those things, right? So tell us, Miss Mylo, tell us where'd you get your start, and where'd you get your start? What motivated you to start your business, and where did it go?
Okay, so I guess it all started with my childhood, like that you don't have control of people's older decisions and stuff, and I was honored to have great parents. The situation was hard, but there's a certain scenario. I had a Japanese partnership in the beginning when I started all of this, but this is how she goes, what do you want to do with your life? And I said, well, always remember that I was in Mexicali, my parents had just moved from California to Mexicali, and they rented the house and they forgot that someone was living there and they couldn't get out, so we slept outside in the front yard in a mattress, and I woke up to this 3 little pennies, and in Mexico you have little stores in the neighborhood, and I wanted this happiest, like, sonrisa, cajita sonrisa, is like a little box that has like a lot of tiny things, and I got so excited that I found it, and I was like, this is from God. So I went and put it on top of it. I was like 3 or 5 years old, I can't remember. I put it on top, and she goes, you have not enough. Wow. Come back when you do. And I cried, and my dad goes, oh, it's not matter, it's just candy. But that marked me. That marked me, because since then I started like coloring things and knocking at people's doors to like sell it, because I wanted my own money. That really triggered to always finding a solution when you didn't have something. And the great thing is that my parents never put fear on me. That's one of my favorite things about Latinos, Mexicanos, parents, that they're like, you want it? Work for it. But never, and then they give you like 5 cents, 10 cents. Yeah, support her, buy it from her. But that literally was my childhood. What are you going to do? You want this? Okay, let's go sell pizzas. And we would go sell pizzas. And you want to go to America? Well, yeah, I was born in America. I want to move there. So how are we going to raise money so you can pay for your living there? Because I couldn't live there yet with my parents. And so there was a lot of doing fundraising and stuff like that. So that developed this strong will of what is just called future mindset. Like, always think there's hope. There's something you can do. Well, then that brings me back to, like, after serving mission, after everything, I was like, I don't want to work for corporate. Throughout this, I was going to landscape architecture. I graduated. I did an internship in Russia. I was working under people. I'm a good follower. I, worked in hotel rooms. But I was learning the basics, programming, logistics, all that. When I came back, I said, I don't want to work with anyone. So I decided to launch my MyloFleur, and then slowly take it while I was going to architecture school. But what triggered it is that someone wrote me a check, because I never actually bought my name. And it was my best friend from France. I was like, oh, how cute, let me MyloFleur. And I was like, okay, cute, let's do it. But I just said, oh yeah, my business is MyloFleur, but I never bought the name, never had it, because I was doing it as a side thing.
Right.
So got to the point where people from Utah were asking for floral.
Right.
That's how I paid for school, for master school. They wrote me a cashier check under that name. And so I tried to cash it or, deposit it. And they're like, ma'am, do you have the paperwork? I was like, what paperwork? It's like, the paperwork, are you registered business license? And I said, I don't know what I have to do. So they, sir, and Chase, I'll never forget, it was Chase Bank. He goes, this is exactly what you have to do. This is where you have to go. And I was just like, so I ended up just going to, the government business place. And then I was like, I have no clue. And I have this check. And it was over $4,000. So I was like, I have this check and I need to, and like, honey, how do you even have a business if you have no paperwork? The thing is that I had that idea, right? The Latino do it, but there's no like the present time mindset where it's just like the documentation and all this stuff. So I went backwards.
Gotcha.
So I had to start where my hope, my adventures was there, the setting apart, researching. When I went from that to going backwards, where I'm like, oh, and I hate asking people, are you all set for this and this and this? Because that's still one of the sour parts. I could not cash that until I got that. It was just a month later. Because I didn't understand even the taxes. Like, I was just like, no. So anyway, so that's how I set up. Then finally I'm registered, and I had this little website. So since I was in architecture school, I know graphic design and all that stuff. You have to know. Architecture school, point is, you know everything about everything.
Right.
You have to do a research. That's like in order to design. So basically, I created my website and stuff. It was enough to pass me by. But then I was questioned, why are you doing architecture and you do floral? Like, that doesn't make sense. Focus on structure. Look at this, look at that. So I was always, I don't want to say negatively impacted, but I was degraded a bit from my professors or my companions, my peers, saying, oh, you're leaving again to do floral? Well, yeah, I paid for my school, so that's the only income I had, and I could manage the time.
Right.
And then even piano, because I was teaching piano as well, so I was like, oh, you need to focus on one thing. And that is the number one thing that no one can really tell you that. Because more they told me, it was more like, oh, I'm going to teach you that I can do it. So I found a way. And I had amazing professors that were really positive impact on this. And one of them was Glenn Nowak and Eric Strain, who I love, who are very amazing professors here at UNLV. I said, I want to find a way to marry all of these.
Right.
And then he goes, go for it. They didn't say, focus on this, or you just got a good structure. No, do this.
See, I love that.
And so it's like, your opportunity you have right now is to make sure that you execute it, though.
Right.
You got to make sure you explain to people what it means.
Yep.
So my thesis at the end was one of my favorite things I've ever done on this world, even though I submitted the wrong book.
Wait, you said you submitted the wrong one?
I submitted the wrong thesis book to the library, and I was reading. I was like, oh, no, this is a wrong one. And then I was like, oh, okay, I'll just edit it again. And I called the library, and I was like, I just submitted it again. And I was like, but because I caught up to it, and I was the only one doing my own thing.
Okay.
So I'm not good with writing and stuff like that. So I had to get editors. So when all these editors got along with my book, it's just like I put the wrong one in there, the wrong editor. So it goes along. But that literally my thesis is where I got cultural aspects of my world, stories. The aspect of children, because I work with a lot of children and music. The aspect of smell. So all senses were in my biophilic architectural book, which means creating divergence. So then I rebranded before I graduated. I rebranded and I said, I'm MyloFleur, and I'm the new floral architect focused in biophilic. And what it means is that we also attracted to plants or to the visual plants or to the cleanness, or we need something sort of nature, Mother Nature in this. And then our music is part of it and all this. And that elevates our soul. Right. That changes our souls. And then it can really trigger us visually and spiritually. It can trigger our emotions. And I am the master controlling emotions by visual arts.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Come on. Talk about
making a way out of no way, for real.
Yes.
Making a way out of no way.
Off. Everybody told you couldn't have all three of them together. You found a way to make it happen. Props to you.
No,
I think one of the great things I love what you did, because especially academia, they have a way of staying practical.
Right.
Opposed to and they slander creativity to where, why can't I take two theories and come up with my own?
Right.
Or take two and apply them to different, take two theories and apply this, just a slight difference, or add this and make your own theory. That's how do you think a theory came about, right? In the first place. So it's like, man, for you to be able to do that with your business, that's why I was looking like, oh, okay. Like there's a science to it, and I love it, and I salute you. First of all, that was a great way to talk about the blueprint.
Definitely a great blueprint.
Very much like a flower.
From the beginning all the way to
scientifically formed, and which is great. Like Mother Nature's beautiful, like structural point, and then she lets you the finesse of it. It's like the blooming part of it, and then everybody gasped. Oh my gosh, that's great. And I noticed something about me is that I love that. That's the moment I look for. If I like sneak out after we're done, even event planners, wedding planners, architects, interior designs, we all wait for that moment. Like, even have you seen the TV shows when they flip homes?
Yeah.
And they're like, yes, this is my big. How did you do that? How do you think of the possibilities of mastering those textures of smells and stuff like that? With floral is different. With floral, I don't have flowers here, but I'll go into it in a little bit more before I get into that. But the scientific form of blueprint is that how God actually, I'm a believer, so here it is.
Same.
God is the master of this, and he starts very small, in small steps. Now, my life started small, and everything was, no, you can't. Come back and redo it.
Right.
And that was architecture school. Nice try. You can do it, but you didn't sell me yet. And I never switched, so it will be easier.
Right.
I stuck to it. I cried for it. I even hid myself sometimes in the bathroom because everybody's like, oh, did you see her stuff? She's always about flowers. And then I was like, do it again. Do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again. Until I learned what flowers did to the eye. And so then when I got to that, and I was like, my light bulb moment come in. God, you've done this.
Right.
You wrote about this, like your apostles wrote this. Let me read about this. And so I went back to the important basic books. And that's in my basics. And I always talk about this, that God is the one that runs my business.
Right.
Because literally I use every element that he has created.
Amen.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
There's no blueprint without him.
Come on.
Right.
Amen.
Right.
Amen.
Yeah.
But for one, thank you for that was a powerful
beautiful.
move. Thank you. See, I told y'all. That's I said. I had a good feeling about this one.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing that blueprint. And actually, we're gonna go deeper in a second. We're actually gonna pass. I'm gonna pass this on to Chordonn. We're gonna go to our next segment.
So the next segment is gonna be business on the fly. So we give you two options. We're gonna ask you a few different questions, but you have two options. You pick either or you could plead the fifth. And then when you choose your selection, just go deeper into it and tell like why you chose that.
Okay. So if I plead the fifth.
Yeah, even if you plead the fifth, just say why. You know.
And this is pertaining to your industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. So I got the first three. So, real or fake flowers?
Plead the fifth.
Why?
So, there's so much I can go into it, but I'm going to explain my terrain, the landscape part of it.
Okay.
Structurally, the engineering blue part. So, my city does not bloom.
True.
So, if it would be in vain and even a massacre of murders if I bring blooms that do not belong in the desert.
Right.
So I have to, there's a scientific form to it, so where I fly everything in, but I use them only for the, like, I design as a little fairies, like, you know, the whimsical part of it. That's my floral touch. If it's a structure more like forms, I would do more of the silks, but it depends on the visual art of where the people are going to be setting or touching or living. So if it's a place where it's like 2 or 3 feet, I suppose it will be more of the real flowers.
Okay.
If it's high and above, there's no reason to be having real flowers. And it also is cost effective.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hurt the environment that much. So it's a little bit sustainable, even though silk flowers also are not sustainable to the point. So it's a catch-22 in our industry with being sustainability. And I am such a passionate about being sustainable, not hurting the earth or over-abusing it. But at the same point is we take what we can to be able to elevate us. So
For sure.
I hope that answers that.
No, it definitely does.
Okay.
It gives us a perspective that many don't think about, because say if we're thinking about a wedding or if we're thinking, it depends where you're at, and especially if people grow here, that's a challenge too. Growing in Nevada, growing any plants in Nevada is a challenge in itself.
For sure.
Because my dad's from Athens, Georgia, and he's somebody who grew up on a farm. He loves to grow, and he's been here long enough to know when to grow. Yes. And it's like, I'm like, I don't know how he knows how to do it, but he knows how. And when he knows he builds those little those forts, the greenhouses and all that, but he figured it out. But it's something you like for someone like me who's not knee deep into planting or any of that, you wouldn't think about, especially not understanding your environment and what type of plants go into. So yes, it answers the question. My next one, entertainment or corporate events. So like entertainment events, I would say like that would be like a wedding or that would be like a proposal. I saw that on your website. So those type of events or like a corporate event that's like a conference or something.
I play the.
See, dang. Now I feel like I put you in a pickle.
Yes, because so it depends the approach I have. So if it's a corporate, I don't get much to design. Mm-hmm. It's very minimal, but yeah, it's the simplest way to do things.
Okay.
And it's the brain focus it overall more of the aesthetics and furniture looks good.
Okay.
So I'm more of like the accent design, right?
The accessories.
Yes, accessories.
Yes.
Unless they want a structure installation, then it becomes a different, like the Grammys. When I did the Grammys, that was my favorite part. But I got to design with them. But I love the opposite as well, which is like the weddings and stuff. When I get to sit one-on-one with a client, and my favorite part is grabbing a white piece of paper and start doodling. I call it my doodle scratches. And she's talking, I start doodling, and that's what my favorite part is. And then all of a sudden I turn around, she's like, yes, but it's just doodles.
Right.
Yes, that's all I wanted. That's perfect. Then I grab the paper, and then I drop it, and then it's a whole scheme. The power of pen is more effective. Even in my studio, in my group, they were like, how did they go from doodles to chicken scratch to that emphasis? So that's why I played the fifth one.
Okay.
It's different.
No problem. Now this one, I'm interested to see. 1099 or W-2s for your employees?
1099s.
Okay, why?
So 1099s have a more responsibility. W-2s just come to 8 to 5.
Okay.
I don't need 8 to 5s. I need 1099s who also are, I don't want them to just focus on my business. I need them to be working on their own stuff. And so
like
they
that.
come bring more to the table. And I like when they start establishing like, Milo, I'm not going to be able to attend to this because I'm going to school. I'm an advocate for school. So I'm like, yep, go for it. But I need you to come back for this because I had to go like that. I was a 1099 most of my times working, except when I was working corporate. But I was on call, which helped me still go to school. But 1099s for sure.
For sure.
So, hotels or restaurants, as far as, I guess, doing what you do in those spaces? Which one would you rather?
So, because our hotels have restaurants I work in, so.
Oh, okay. It's true.
Yeah, like I got.
If you had to prefer.
Okay, I say hotels.
Okay.
Yeah,
Why?
because they have a bigger traffic.
Oh, that's true. That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
They have
More
bigger
space.
traffic. It's more space.
That's true.
They have a more elegant place. As for a restaurant, I will have to go with mostly silks because of the temperature and the climate and all that stuff with their heating parts. I have to look into the climate situation in their homes. In hotels, it's a wherever they need that extravagant Instagram moment is what is really cool.
Got you.
Yeah.
Indoor or outdoor weddings?
Definitely in Vegas, indoor. You know, it is so sad how the climate has changed rapidly. And I don't know if you guys remember last year, it was November-ish. And I don't know what happened. I'm trying to talk to God about this every time like November comes in. I'm like, are we going to do a tantrum moment? Because all these women, or men that come to Vegas from other states, they're like, Vegas, dry lakes. People are fascinated by dry lakes, and they don't understand that there's like little mini twisters in there.
Yeah.
There's us holding it, and so never outdoors. I will actually, in fact, I charge more to be outside.
Makes sense.
Makes sense though. I mean,
It's hot.
I think us who either born or lived here for so long, we get it.
Definitely.
And we're like, heck no. Like, I don't care what time of the year. Like,
Exactly.
we're not doing that.
Yeah, maybe April 5th is the
Possibly.
only day.
The
that
only day of spring that we have every
That's it.
year.
But other than that, is bipolar
We
as
get
well.
one day of
so-
spring a year.
That's
yeah,
it.
one
April
day.
5th. That's it.
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
Roses or sunflowers?
Roses.
Roses.
Why?
I'm not a wildflower person unless I dance. It's very structural. It's a very elegant. It's a land art flower. Land art is like it by themselves. They don't really play well with other flowers. They are very alpha, and their stems are super huge.
Yeah, that's true.
So when it comes to composition, and I've had clients ask me for sunflowers, I always say that is like a standalone floral piece, and if we're gonna do sunflowers, that's all we have to do. Ain't no green or nothing. You look at how they grow, look where they come from, look what their the climate is. Flowers, roses have a tendency to be able to play with others, and they're a group. I talk about them like they're self personalities, but they do have personality. So yeah.
Right. Okay, so now we're gonna go into the next segment, which is the legend. So we talked about the blueprint. But when you look at a blueprint, there's that tiny box in the bottom corner that's the legend, and it gives you all the details and stuff.
Right.
So basically, we just gonna ask you a couple questions to pick your brain and go into detail about what you do. And the first question I had was, like, you mentioned like climate and how the plants like react to being around other plants. Were there some kind of like science classes or anything like that that you had to take along the way, or like where did you get all that knowledge from?
Yeah, so my bachelor's is in landscape architecture.
Okay.
So I literally took a lot of exterior classes about plants. I actually took a CSN here because they don't offer that UNLV for some reason.
Right.
I didn't. It struggled a bit when I was from the 1990s. So we partnered up a lot with CSN. So all those plants you guys see around them, I know the names, like, because we had to, they quiz us all the time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but those are not the plants that people want, right? So I would have to, actually it was at when I worked at when I discovered more, like, oh, there's more different flowers from Holland, Peru, Central America. And then they teach you, MGM Mirage events also taught us how to, like, okay, these are dormant, they're sleeping, they don't cut them in their prime time, so they can, last us more than a month in the process. So I learned that through not school, but through work. So the school was more of like understanding the earth, and then this work will be understanding your materials, your mediums of survival.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So that, man, I really applaud you for one, because of how you speak about flowers and floral, and how it's really like not even just the science, it's really the art, and it's a flow.
Yeah.
But and when I think about this, right, the passion, I can tell how passionate you are about this and the love you have for it. And it's like, oh man, you got me wrapped in, right? For someone who's for anyone that's in our Blackstone program, any business owner, any student, can you elaborate the importance of not only having that same passion, better question. Yes, having that passion for your niche of your business, but also having the same energy to take care of the business side of your business. Can you talk about that more too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I hope I understand. So how I sustained like an administration part of it?
So like as much as you love this business, because I saw the website and I was like, man, this is dope. But now to hear you talk about it, it's like, oh, I can tell you really love this.
Yeah.
And I can tell, like, okay, you're really good at this,
Right.
of how knowledgeable you are, which is great. Because that's just one half of the business.
Right.
And you're great at it. And I'm like, Cole, you know your stuff. Someone is sold.
Right.
Are you making sure you're that knowledgeable as well on the business side? as making sure you're taking care of it so you can sustain the business, right? And I ask that because oftentimes when students come, they want to be entrepreneurs, they want to have their own business, but the business side lacks.
Yeah.
We don't forget about, we don't think to ask about those things because we're like, oh, we'll put it off. We'll get it later. I need to focus on this part first.
Right.
What would you suggest they do to essentially learn both at the same time? Being creative, figuring out their niche, and also learning the business side of the industry.
Yeah. Okay, so story time.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so because I studied landscape architecture while I was doing floral design, I was able to do my mortar skills and my thinking skills at the same time. Mortar skills is like being able to know how long can I do a floral arrangement. Well, I applied that into landscape architecture but not because I was into landscape architecture meant that I had the best ideas. The point of being sustainable administration office and to be able to also be the creative mind director of what you are is to plead the fifth, be humble.
Right.
Because everybody is going to tell you you're doing it wrong. But then it's an opinion that is very, very important. And people are criticizing me. Well, guess what? I paid a lot of thousands of dollars in architecture school so people can criticize my work.
Right.
So I can get feedback.
Right.
But I learned not to take defensive. I learned not to be defend something. I learned to listen and say, oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, I see. Oh, good point on that. Oh, I didn't even look at that. And then my heart just opened. So administration part is what I suck at. And I'm gonna be honest, and people listen to this. English is my second language. I sucked at it, and I got good at it because I had to defend myself.
Couldn't even tell.
Number two, I have dyslexia, so I turn numbers around. So I had to work harder than everybody else. Number three,
I salute you.
I cried more than everybody. There's no therapist at the time, okay? So it was like me and my mom. I was like, get your shit together.
Man.
Number three, you're your own architect of your own story. How you let other people determine your mindset, because not all of us are futuristic. Some of them are present, some are in the past. So whoever you are, your mindset is how it determines how you are going to take the criticism. So, yes, I cried, and to the point where I was like, thank you so much. I see what you're saying. To this point, I get older generations sit back and say, I have one complaint to say. And my response is, thank you so much for your complaint. Are you a floral architect? Oh, are you in this business? Oh, no, but I'm just like, oh, okay, because you gave me the suggestion. But thank you so much. Then now I have the power to respond.
Gotcha.
But before I didn't. So I waited. And I love that. So because I couldn't do that, and it wasn't into master's school, that I sat with Danny Ortega, another amazing professor and director, and Glenn Nowak, and I said, you guys teach us how to design, how to sell our designs, but no one tells us how to put numbers on this. And I'm getting ripped off. And the number one thing about artists is that we always want to say, I'll hook you up. Okay, I'll design this for you so I can get cloud. Like, I can do this. Well, guess what? Your generations are not going to be fed from that. And you know where it hit me the most? When I owed my vendors. And I said, I have to sell tamales to pay them because I undersold myself for 2 years. So my personality is how I took that. So then I said, no one's going to do this other than myself because I love this. No, you can get other people hired, but they're going to do it because they need the money, but not because they love you. So the only two people that might be able to help you throughout the system and throughout your entrepreneurship is your parents. But they're also going to be the biggest criticism, like the ones that are going to rip you apart. But they do it because they don't want anyone else to do it. And I've heard it. I still have my boundaries still. I'm like, not done yet. I'm still working on this. I try not to go to Sunday dinners for a reason. Because like, so what are you doing? Are you spending more money? I'm like, I'm living through, and I don't know how to respond yet because I haven't passed that decade, people. So don't ask me yet. I'm not done with my chapter yet. Right. But the key is your own architect of your administration, and if your administration sucks, then your art will fail and you will always feel like a failure. If you learn how to do that in language administrating the website is your branding. It is who you are. Yes, I have a little sneak peek of maybe who I am, but nobody really knows my backstory. Right. But they don't know. It's like Dolce & Gabbana. Nobody really knows about them.
That's true.
But when they come out, they're proud of their work. But you don't know it's males. Like, I actually just learned that there were 2 males on this. And I was like, but they're males? And I was just like, wow. The branding, stand alone, yet you just put your signature on it.
Got you.
So, very passionate. We live in a generation now that everybody's like, well, they said about this, it doesn't match Instagram, it doesn't know this person. Everybody has a fake life, people. Not until they're real.
That's part.
And the most important one, and I don't know if you believe in God or not, but if you believe in something, make him your guidance, because he's the only one that will guide you truthfully.
Snaps. She dropped the mic on y'all. Man, listen, Mylo, thank you for coming on our show, man. Yeah. You really blessed the mics on this podcast today.
Definitely.
Like, I felt that. And I felt that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, God spoke to me today. I'm about to read my devotions. Got to read my devotions today. I didn't read it this morning because I was trying to prepare for this show. Now I'm like, dang, I got to go into my Bible.
Yeah. Right. It's beautiful words that will never, ever deceive you.
Amen. And on that note, we're going to go ahead and transition to the last segment of our show, which is the happy hour, which we're going to take a toast to success, fulfillment, and what is going on great within our lives. And we're going to start with you, Ms. Mylo.
Okay.
What is going on great within your life that we can all take a toast to?
Actually, I'm proud to say that I have won some architectural bids through MyloFleur, and after a year and a half after graduating, it's a big thing to have.
Right.
When everybody doubted me. So.
Congrats. Man, come on.
Yeah, it's okay.
But God.
It's a different world for a lot of people, so it's good.
Amen. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you. How about you, Chordonn?
Just new business opportunities, Like I said earlier, when we first started just growing in Blackstone, and all the time, it's like new opportunities. It's like, oh, Chordonn, we need you for this. We need you. And it's like, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and that's why I'm here. But it's like actually seeing the opportunities come my way. It's like, it's fulfilling. It's like, okay, all this work that I've done, all the times where I wasn't getting any orders or anything like that, it's kind of worth it now. So it's just the beginning, but it's definitely a good thing that's going on.
Come on.
I love it.
And
what about you?
With me, man, so many things that's happening. My nonprofit, my nonprofit and my LLC, which is the same, King of Jewels.
Shout out King of Jewels.
Shout out King of Jewels. We just extended our contract with UNLV's Upper Bound, and we just, got another contract for consulting, doing some other stuff. So,
Nice.
Business is good, baby.
Business is
good. Business is good. Business is good.
I love that.
Great.
So cheers to you all. Cheers. Tip down. Yep. I had to reach. That was good.
Ginger ale, by the way.
Ginger ale, y'all.
Good.
So, Miss Mylo, can you please tell the audience where they can find you? That camera right there.
Okay. So I am on actually downtown by UNLV. Downtown UNLV, I consider you downtown actually.
Cool.
So by UNLV, I transport from a small little studio apartment, but you can find me there. I'm right next to the School of Fine Arts. So if anyone's willing to do an internship, just text me or email me. My website is MyloFleur at MyloFleur.com. And Instagram, of course, is MyloFleur, FloralLV.
Man, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's truly been a blessing having you.
I am so glad.
Loved your energy.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Episode for sure.
Definitely a great episode. Definitely felt that. So on the behalf of the Business Information Buffet Podcast, also known as the BIB Podcast, where everybody eats, we will catch you next time. I'm your host, Sean Tory, along with Chordonn Allen. Thank you all for joining us. We appreciate you. Thank you again, Milo.
Thank
See
you guys.
you all next time.
Peace.